Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Italo Guerrier, make sure I say that correctly, Business Development Manager at Constellation Financing Systems. Thanks for joining me, Italo.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a pleasure to be here on your show. As I said when we last chatted, I do review them. I like them, and it's a good way to kind of meet other industry individuals. It's really cool. Thank you.
No, I'm glad to have you on here. I have not had, I know you guys are both US and Canada based, but shame on me. I have not had enough Canadians on this show. So I'll have to make, something on that. I think Hugh Swandell might be the only person that I've had, who's located in Canada.
Yeah, Hugh, I know. Well, I golfed with Hugh at the last DLFA. He's a pretty good golfer, I have to admit.
Well, he won't tell you that, but
no, that's true.
Yeah. So Italo, for the people who might watching this that might not be familiar with you, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date in equipment finance?
Sure. So I know every time you get this question, is like, where do you start? At the age of 2 or the age of 22? You know what I mean? I never know what to say, but thank you for this. So my name is Italo Guerrier, and as you mentioned, Jesse, I'm the Business Development Manager at Constellation Financial Software. I've been there now coming on 10 years. I was born and raised in Toronto. I now live in Oakville, which is about 20 minutes just west of Toronto. I got 2 boys, Sebastian and Xavier. Sebastian just finished university. He graduated and he got a job on Tuesday. So kudos to him. Oh yeah, it's good. Xavier's got 1 more year and he's doing an honors degree at McMaster's in economics. And then once they're done, I have no more adult daycare payments. So then I can start retiring and saving for my retirement, which is gonna be a good thing. My wife, she managed.
I got a while for that. With Jeremy, I was like, oh, by the time I'm 50, then like 9 years later, let's have Rory. And now it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, there goes Freedom 55. Yeah, I know. And then my wife manages a daycare. So, oh man, she brings home every single human communicable disease to mankind. So she ensures that our immune systems is fully strengthened, I'm telling you. But so for me, I enjoy playing soccer. As you can see here, I try to cycle as much as I can. I golf. But I'm still trying to master that. And the funny thing with golf is the longer I play, Jesse, the worse I'm becoming, man. I don't know what it is, but it's too much, man. It's like, I have to give it up somehow.
That's awesome. So when did you, what was your first, I guess, year in equipment finance? Because I believe you were in the industry prior to joining Constellation, correct?
Yes. So I started, I started with Nucor Credit Group back in the 1990s. Okay. And that's where I kind of met everybody. And when I took that job, Jesse, I was like employee 40 something, right? In the 1990s. And then it grew by leaps and bounds. Like the company then grew bigly. And then we got bought out by CIT, and then I stayed with them for a little bit. I managed the whole Y2K conversion, and then I left Nucor. But as I said, I met a lot of nice people. And then I joined a company called Science International. And Science International, believe it or not, we were one of the first companies back in 2000 that developed a lease web-based application on a beta version of .NET, okay? And people from Seattle were coming to our office in Oakville because they couldn't believe what our developers were developing on a beta version of .NET, okay? So that's kind of the way I kind of introduced myself more so into leasing, and then I was involved in a bunch of implementations. Our first one that I was on was Pitney Bowes, both US and Canada. Then I got onto Volvo Financial, Citizens Bank, Fifth Third Bank, and then I did a whole bunch of business analysis work for M&T Bank a few years ago.
So what was it like, shifting from, an equipment finance organization to more of a service provider on the software side?
It was, you know what, it was a good transition. So if you, either which way you come to it, you understand either the business and then get to the technology side, or then you understand the technology and get to the business. So I had a good understanding of the business, and now I understand how the technology can help our industry and help the organizations in our industry with the ability to have some technology there, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was, yeah, it was always kind of one of my challenges where I've only been on the service provider side. One of my clients I have now is an actual equipment finance company, so I can be able to go in and help them. But you know, you still learn, even though you know, from a general sense, just by doing RFPs and understanding requirements for so many years. But actually being in a day to day, I can definitely see where that would be a good carryover.
Yeah, it is like, even when I was at Lease Bank and at Spartan Compliance, you learn a lot of the day-to-day activity, and then you can understand how system will benefit some of that, right? How can a system, you know, help me remove some of the repetitive functions that my team are doing on a daily basis, right? Like, and when I joined Constellation, I told Cha, I said, Cha, I'm not a sales guy 10 years ago, right? When I joined 10 years ago, I told, I'm not a sales guy. I've never sold anything in my life. Like, I've only ever worked on the implementation side of stuff.
Sure.
But understanding that world has helped me from, you know, from a sales perspective, because I can't really sell you software, Jesse. I need to understand what your, you know, your pain points are, and then address them with a solution that will hopefully fit, right? And that's what I do. And it's been helping, because I come across hopefully a little bit more with knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the solution, that I'm here to help. If the solution's not working for you guys, I'm not going to sell you anything, because that's the worst thing that we can possibly do, right?
No, completely fair. And, you know, always appreciate the transparency. That goes a long way. You know, and transitioning from that, let's talk about Constellation, if you don't mind. Do you mind just kind of introducing the organization, you know, the different products that you guys have in your market?
Sure. So let me start, because that's a good segue into this. A lot of people don't know who Constellation is, but back in 1995, Mark Leonard, who was a brilliant man, created Constellation, where he saw that there was a need in the marketplace for a bunch of software companies in there, and put them in a portfolio or a group based on a certain vertical. And that's what he's done. So we go out and we buy kind of niche software companies in certain verticals, like ours is asset financing. Then we merge them together and we create mission critical systems that then I can then take back to attract net new customers, or even sell some, you know, neat features or new features back to base, right? That's kind of what we do. And since 95, CSI, we've only, you know, we have over a few hundred companies, maybe even 300 companies today. And we've only divested one company since 95. So the approach that we take when we buy these companies is more of a Warren Buffett approach, where we buy and hold. So we become kind of your vendor for life, right? As opposed to kind of, you know, the Jack Welch model, where he buys companies and then neutron bombs them from the inside and keeps all the various parts. We keep the sum of everyone, right? Like, we keep the entire management team, because the management team is the IP of the organization, including the products that they have. And then a lot of these managers that stay with us become VPs of their silos, and they move up in the organization as well. So we tend to keep them. A couple of other tidbits that a lot of people don't know, like our company trades on the TSX, you know, our symbol is CSU.TO. Current stock price is $2,600 a share. We're a $50 billion company by market cap, and our annual revenues exceed $5 billion US per year. So we're here for the long run, and that's what's nice. You know, CFS, us, we're entrepreneurial in spirit, but we also have a backing of a large organization behind us, right? And that makes it easy for me when I'm dealing with like our products, Edge, Asset, Vision that we acquired back in 2017, Casatron, Coverity, and also we have a selective pension company out in the UK. So that gives us, Constellation gives us the foundation to grow those businesses that we have and be able to, showcase them because we have a bigger backer that stands behind us.
Absolutely. And just a quick question in that: when you acquire to hold, when you're investing in technology, right? Because I was with a lease accounting company, and it was always like, hey, we have this legacy software. We need to get you to our latest because we don't want to continue to develop a legacy system that's on old architecture. What is your, if you're just acquiring to hold and still maintaining, that's perfect, right? Because you're never going to sunset these. But also from a technology perspective, if people need some of that new stuff, what's that internal conversation like? Where how do you support, I guess, multiple platforms, I guess, efficiently and effectively?
So that's a really good question, and that's a tough question too, because a lot of the times when we buy some of these softwares, you're buying also the businesses that rely on that particular solution, right? So
Got it.
As an organization, we don't sunset anything. Like, as you know, we have our Casatron product, we still build it out, and there are customers still on it. And there are some customers that will need the Casatron going forward because of the fact that they really can't move off of it, right? Because they're small, it is. But we do give them options that if they ever want to move over to one of our new enterprise solutions, we make it as easy as possible for them to make that transition, right? And again, as an organization, we don't force companies to migrate over to a new solution, but we do chat with them because we do have annual reviews. And if they're looking for something new, we kind of showcase that particular product and say, hey, we're still in the family. This is what we have to offer that we think might be better for you. And we do it that way.
Sure. Yeah, it's always a tricky thing, right? It's the proverbial roadmap. I was at a particular user conference for like 12 years in a row. In the same, it's like a couple of the things on the roadmap never seem to go off the roadmap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, and absolutely, I know. And now we have like 5 different roadmaps, right?
It's just like, okay. Yeah. Whoever screams the loudest sometimes, unfortunately, but you know what? That is what it is.
We kind of have, sometimes we have more of an approach to it too, right? You know what I mean? That's kind of where we try to keep everybody happy, right? And a happy customer is a good customer.
So you guys are traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. Do you guys do you have any offices in the States, or you just have offices in Canada?
Yeah, we have CSI has about 125,000 customers in over 100 countries, and CFS, it's a huge organization, CSI. And for CFS, we have offices in Oakville, Ontario, Markham, and then we also have our Vision head offices in St. Louis, Missouri.
Got it. And then from an install base of CFS, like how many customers do you think you have between the US and Canada?
We have over about 100 customers.
Okay.
Yeah, we have about
fantastic.
100 customers. We have over 50 employees. So, as I said, we have that entrepreneurial spirit, but behind a very big conglomerate that they're our safety blanket, right?
Sure. So I want to shift kind of this discussion a little bit to kind of like some trends of what you're seeing. And when I got into the software space, I think was it 2011, end to end was all the buzz, right? You need to have an end to end. You need to do that. This monolithic, big old system. And now it's like I personally see it shifting, where it's just like, no, you don't need that. And just kind of want to get your thoughts on what you're seeing, Italo.
Yeah, the same thing. You know what? You and I have this kind of similar paths. Like when I first started like 10 years ago with Constellation, everybody wanted this, end-to-end solution, one database. It's got to be all in one system. But now we're going back to, having components that are best of breed, and then integrating them seems to be kind of where the industry is going again, right? So nobody really cares anymore if you have an end-to-end. They just care that your products are integratable, right? And can be part of a larger ecosystem of additional solutions that can create that end-to-end that doesn't have to, be one solution, right?
Sure. And is asset just back end?
Yes. And that's the beauty of our solution. We have a couple of front end systems like Edge and Vision, and then we have Asset, and both of them are integrated in a bi-directional way with Asset. So Asset is our pure back office system, but then we can integrate with other front end systems as well, like Salesforce, or we even have some integrations with some other competitors as well. But all in all, it's nice that a client can say, okay, I like your back office system, but I want to use Salesforce. That's fine. We can integrate Salesforce right into Asset, or we can integrate Salesforce into one of our originations platform, and then we have an integration there already into Asset.
No, that's fantastic. And that's always, it's tough because some integrations are harder than others, where it's just a one-way, two-way, how many fields can you update?
Right.
It's always kind of juggling.
Yeah, but that's the nice thing about our organization is now that we have two origination systems like Edge and Asset, they both integrate seamlessly into the Asset application in a bi-directional manner. So if you need collections data, we can get that out of Asset and display it at credit time, from a front end perspective, and then we can book whatever. So that's kind of when I say our niche is to integrate those solutions and then make them holistic, right?
Nope, absolutely, Italo. What other kind of trends or I guess thoughts do you have right now on where the technology is going?
So that's a good question. The buzz everybody keeps talking about is AI, right? And I personally think AI is a good thing, right? It's a good thing because it kind of evens out the playing field for everybody. Like when we grew up, I'm a lot older than you are, but the only AI I had was a set of Funkin' Wagnall encyclopedias, right? You know what I mean? Or Encyclopedia Britannica. If you didn't have that, you were going to the library, and if those books were checked out, you couldn't do any research. So you were kind of hamstrung as to what you had to do, right? And this AI gives everybody the same playing field. You put in the question, it spits out the exact same answer for everybody. Now, could you copy paste it? Yeah, but now we have to find different ways to engage these kids to write these essays properly, right? That's kind of holistic. Kind of in our world where I see this is that yes, AI can help, especially from an underwriting perspective, but it can spread financials, it can analyze ratios, but it really can't read the notes in financials that are really important, right? And there's no human connection, right? So you'll always need that credit, credit officer to make that decision to help out, and then what are we going to do if we get all these unemployed MBAs? Like seriously, where are they all going to go and work, right? You know what I mean? So there's always going to be some human interaction with AI, but as I said, AI can help. Kind of if you look at your normal distribution, you can kind of make, in our industry, make quick kind of approval decisions, and then make quick decline decisions, and then leave all the other stuff for your credit officers to do. What they do is create that magic to structure that deal that's beneficial for the lessee, the lessor, and even the funder in the back end, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I was kind of curious to see how some of these AI products potentially integrate with some of the lease origination or, accounting platforms. I haven't really given too much thought to that.
Yeah, I know it's pretty interesting, right? Because everybody keeps talking AI, it's going to revolutionize our industry. But,
Yeah, maybe some industries, like you said, a lot of the equipment finance, and why I appreciate this industry so much is that human connection, that human element of it, where it's like, and based on the experience.
Correct.
You can't sit there and type into ChatGPT, oh, I had a relationship with this person, they defaulted twice, but on the third time they were good. Can you please tell me what their credit score should be for the next one? It's like, stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct with that, right? And I know, and I don't think AI will ever get there, right?
Sure.
AI will help us, but it'll only interpret data, but it can't add any human like characteristics or quantifiability to that. It's just a number. That's all it is to the system, right? But
Sure.
you have to do it, right? The human interaction is this is what I like, is I crave this, and our industry gives this to us.
Nope, you're absolutely correct there. And then I guess while we're talking about like the industry, I'm guessing you guys, I've seen you, I think all trade associations, so CFLA, ELFA, NEFA, what do those kind of trade associations and the relationships you have with their members mean to, Constellation?
Oh, they mean a lot, right? That's kind of, as I said, the last 3 years have been hard because we weren't able to go to any of these functions. So I missed that human interaction. Great, video is good, but it's just not the same thing. Shaking your hand, talking to people, interacting, and our industry is so conducive to that. Our industry, you talk to people, they don't mind talking to you and giving you some of their secret sauce, or talking to you and and finding out what makes their business run well or not, and hearing that and talking to them about that. That's what makes our association so good, right? And that's what I really like about is the human interaction that we get with one another when we attend these trade conferences.
Nope, absolutely. And it's a lot of those relationships you get with some of those people. I mean, I'm sure you met some of them when you were at Newcourt, and then as you move around, they still continue to be good relationships and just good contacts throughout the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the relationships that you make, and this industry has that longevity, right? We're in here, even though we kind of move around and we go to other companies, but we're always in this particular industry. And and it's been great because you go to a trade show and you recognize faces and you chat, and it's like, I always say when I go to the CFLA golf excursion, I always think it's like an old high school reunion where I get to see these people once a year, and it's great. And you just say hi to everybody, you chat, and it's really nice.
Nope, I agree with you, spot on. It's like you're family away from family.
Absolutely. Jesse, that is a very good point. It is. It's your family away from your family. It's so true, right? Have a few drinks, catch up, talk about family, see how everything is going. It's so true.
So I'm going to move gears a little bit here on this kind of the status of, the economy right now and this proverbial recession, that just call it what it is.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not a big, anyhow, I'm not an economist by any stretch of the imagination, nor am I going to pretend to be one. But from a software perspective, people are like, I really don't know, are we really going to make that investment? And I see it completely opposite. I see if your volume is slowing down and you need to increase automation and efficiency, now's the time to either look to move to a system or how do we fine tune this? And I just kind of wanted to get, your thoughts. And as the person, now you're the salesperson, right? Managing the entire pipeline of a big organization. Like, how are those conversations going? What is your thoughts, Italo?
They're not easy conversations at this time, right? Because when you're heading into a recession, right, all organization, large or small, the first thing that comes to mind is preservation of capital or of cash, right? We don't know how deep it's going to be. We don't know how long it's going to be. So the thing is, hey, we got to keep cash in our pockets, in the bank, wherever, right? So when you're talking to them about a solution, automation, they're all already thinking dollar signs and all the dollar signs that I'm going to have to pay out in order to have this automation in here, to help, right? But the thing that I kind of go back to, and I tell them, I go, absolutely, it's going to cost some money. But at the end of the day, automating stuff and incorporating some technology, what does it do? It kind of removes or stabilizes your most expensive expense line, which is labor costs, right? And every business, labor costs are extremely expensive. So, but if we can introduce some automation, then that, in downturns in the economies or upturns in the economies, you can scale up from a technology perspective, and you don't have to ramp up people, right? So, and that makes that, going from 100 transactions a month to 300 transactions a month easy, because you're not adding bodies. It's just more volume through a system. Or conversely, if it goes the other way around and you have to lay off a few people, it's just maybe one or two. You don't have to lay off an entire workforce of like 8 or 9. You might have to just lay off 1 or 2, or you can transition those people into part-time work until your volumes come back. At least that person's trained, he understands your business, he knows the industry, and you can always bring them back, right? So that's kind of where I see that. But yeah, it's a hard pitch, Jesse, because at the end of the day, they only have so much money as a resource, and letting it go in recessionary times is a tough decision for them to make.
No, it's hard. But it's what you see now, especially here in the States, is the banks are like tightening everything up, right? In the independents now, with the cost of capital and everything else, you can't compete on rate. But the independents have been sitting there and they've been investing in technology and they've been doing all these things. So it's just an interesting where, you ask people how their businesses are going. You just kind of see that shift.
Yeah, well, I know I know it's tough, but listen, I've had a few prospects. I send out my pricing proposals, and as soon as they see the numbers, it takes them time to make that decision, right?
Sure. Well, and plus it's not just, for me, when it's lease accounting software, it's not just about the spend, it's the pain of what people have either been through in the past or what they've heard. Right. And no conversion's easy. It's hard. As much as I'd love to say, oh yeah, it's seamless. Yeah, no. It's like nothing is ever simple.
No. As soon as somebody says, how many contracts you want to convert? 1, I'm saying, oh, it's going to be a nightmare, right? 1 or 1,000, it's the same pain, right? It's just a conversion.
Yep. You just got to muscle through it and be transparent about it. And then you figure out the best way to move it forward.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that, even as I said, in this industry, my reputation is always my reputation on the line, right? So it's all about being honest and transparent. And you have to tell them the way it is, right? Like, yeah, conversions are the most painful, time consuming, and most costly, right?
Sure. Yep. What else are you thinking right now with the state of the kind of equipment finance industry, Elo?
You know what? It's with the tightening of capital and with the interest rates going up, sometimes I have a dichotomy of good and bad. Like from a good perspective, I know interest rates are not good, but because they're going up, it would help some of these organizations in our industry that instead of using a line of credit that we don't know where that interest rate's going, is to maybe get into a lease, right? Sure. At least it's committed, that cash flow will be acknowledged for the next 48 months. I know what I'm paying, as opposed to putting some of this stuff on a line of credit where your prime rate can go up and down, and 1 month to the next you can be a few $100 up, right? So yeah, it's going to be tough sledding, but I think for me personally, I always have these arguments with my son because he's going to be the economist, right? I think it's going to be short-lived, to be quite honest. Yep. And the reason too is the American consumer keeps spending money, right? Which is a good thing. And the only bad thing about that, it's increasing inflation, right? So the feds need to figure out how to control that a little bit, right? Sure. But all in all, I'm always a positive individual, and I think whatever kind of recessionary downturn we hit, I think it's going to be short-lived, and we'll come out of it quickly.
Oh, thank you for that, and definitely understand all those thoughts for sure.
Just don't quote me on those, because I'm not an economist by far.
No, you didn't. For those people watching this they know that I'm not either. I just kind of say it as I see it, and don't, you know, because I might seem like I'm the expert. I'm not.
but if we're right, we'll take full credit for it.
Yeah, maybe a little, at least a little bit.
A little bit. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
I know you mentioned earlier that you like soccer, and I see the cycle behind you there. But I do ask everyone who comes on here to give me a little fun fact about themselves. So, what makes you tick outside of your day to day, besides jumping on the bike and blowing off some steam?
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I either go for long walks or I go for a nice bike ride. Or I just take out all my frustrations on Sunday morning on a soccer pitch, right? It's like, yeah, it's a bunch of old guys, over 50 league, but sometimes when we're playing, it's like there's everybody still thinks they're scouts in the stands and they were going to get some kind of MLS contract, it's but it's good that release of stress and energy is
Sure.
is good for the soul and the mind, right?
So what is the over under on injuries on a weekly basis?
Oh yeah, so we start off with like 28 players, and by the end of the season we're down to like 12. Hey, it's over 50. You have to expect that.
It's okay. I'm 41 and I tore my meniscus playing dodgeball with my son in January, so I can't really say anything. I just, now since it's happened to me, I'm just kind of like, oh, sounds like a hamstring or a knee or something waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, well, and once the injury comes, like you're not. First of all, it goes the whole season, man.
Yeah,
the whole season, because it'll take you the whole season to recover from whatever, right? So, but it's fun. I've been playing with these guys since I was like 30. So we started at like 30, and then we went to an over 30, over 40. Now it's over 50 league. So I've been playing with the same bunch of guys for the last 25 years, and it's great. Competitive soccer. It's fun, a bunch of guys, and then of course go for a few pints afterwards to make sure we get our carbs back in. So it's not bad.
Sure. All right. Well, that's good. And then, I mean, hopefully you have a farm system, because if you go from 28 to 12, some of these injuries take maybe 18 months. So you might need to make sure you get some people on the sideline.
Yeah, we try to go through every year our recruitment effort as well. But it's harder and harder to find over 50-year-olds that want to still play soccer.
Fair. It's perfectly fair. My last question I have for you, Italo, is, at the end of the day, why should an equipment finance organization want to partner with Constellation for a software platform?
Good question. You're putting me on the spot here. All right. No, you know what? Constellation is a great organization to work for. Like our association, the longevity of its members is reflected in the longevity of our employees. Kind of the average tenure at Constellation Financial is at least 15 years. We have a bunch of resources that have been here since the beginning. And they've been here, for 20 plus years, and they know the solution. They know the industry because we've gone through, hundreds of implementations. So we know the industry, we know our products will really well. And again, we're backed by CSI, which is, a sound organization. So yeah, we enjoy what we do. We're a collective group of individuals. We work closely with each other. And the other thing too is I keep telling people is when we do implementations, you always get that core team that's understands that business. So we never really have juniors on, and you have our most senior team working all implementations. And again, it can be hard sometimes because the scheduling, sometimes they conflict, but that's what we do. And that's kind of been our value add to organizations that are looking for Constellation.
Absolutely, Italo. Thank you for that little summary there. It's always difficult, especially like you just mentioned there. Everyone has their A squad, right?
Yeah.
And typically, where I see the majority of projects kind of struggle is from a sales perspective. You'll have your A squad there, and then depending on the implementation and everything else, sometimes people throw their B, C squad at it, and there's just lack of consistency or synergy, and you're just like, what happened?
Yeah. And that's what that, absolutely. And that's kind of something that we understood early on, and we just didn't do that. So, you get the full spectrum of our kind of our most senior individuals from a sales perspective, through implementation, and even right to account management. So, that's what's been working for us. And we tend to, we're staying with that particular concept.
Excellent. Don't blame you. It's a great business model to have. The worst thing that you could ever do is have, an implementation go sideways because of something like that.
Yeah.
Been through enough of those, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I know. Yeah. I've been on the other end of a couple when we had some systems implemented back in some of the other career areas where I was in. But yeah, and when they go sideways fast, right? And
Yep.
we know that's painful because we've come from that world. So that's something that we try to avoid at all costs.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today, sir. Thanks for sitting down with me. Probably see you, I'm guessing sometime in the fall.
Yep.
When we're doing the conference circuit.
Absolutely. You're not coming up to the CLFA golf tournament in June?
I would love to, but it happens to overlap the exact date. What's interesting, I need to talk to someone up there, because like the golf event is the same Tuesday that we're doing the EF Cares in Baltimore, and then there's the NIFA Crab Feast, and then I think the annual overlaps like the EF Cares event in Chicago. I'm like, what? So I need to make sure that I try to understand what dates are, so we try to not have this overlap, so we're not having competing events. But I enjoyed the CFLA golf event. It's probably been like pre-COVID since I've been up there.
Yeah, okay.
So
okay, yeah, we hope to see you in Canada soon, my friend.
Absolutely. When I'm up there, I'm a huge Jays fan. I mean, I don't know if the Leafs can win 4 games in a row. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully by the time this airs, maybe they'll still be there. But,
Florida's been playing well. Kudos to Florida.
All right, Italo. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. We'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jesse.